The Texas Parks and Wildlife television series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $50 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
I never apologize for being a tree hugger. It's like a cafeteria in here. You better learn to love a tree, a grass, a flower, or something, because it's the whole reason we're here.
Very handsome bird.
You're a true icon of the southwestern desert. I think one of the most beautiful quail in the United States.
We are one of the easternmost points for the black-tailed prairie dog.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, a television series for all outdoors.
Deep in the Piney Woods of East Texas, you'll find Arcadia, population 57. And down below these pine trees, something quite different is going on.
Ooh, there's a little weakling over there.
This is Greg Grant's place. He planted these loblolly pines some 25 years ago, and he's been killing them ever since.
I'm not cutting it, I'm just stripping the bark. See, there's a layer called the cambium that all the nutrients that the leaves produce comes down through this little layer right under the bark. So once you get rid of it, it's all gonna clog right here and the root system's gonna starve to death. So that's all it takes. Ooh. There he is. It is Melanurpes erythrocephalus, a red-headed woodpecker. I've been a woodpecker fan since birth, and of course you can't have woodpeckers unless you have dead trees. There's a whole host of species that take place and live because a tree dies. Well, dead trees are just as important in an ecosystem as a live tree.
Greg's slowly working on thinning out the trees, burning off the undergrowth, and turning this pine plantation into a pine savanna.
I try to girdle the weakest ones, the shortest ones.
So one of Greg's favorite quotes is to let dead trees live, and I love that one. It basically says that there's still a whole lot of life in this dead tree.
It's like a cafeteria in here.
Yeah.
Look at all that stuff.
There'll be several species of woodpeckers here using this.
Occasionally I'll sit on the porch and I'll get to see a pileated swinging side to side, shucking off big plates of bark, and it's pretty darn amazing. When I was a kid, this was my grandparents' house. Prior to that, my great-great-grandparents lived here. I'm the 5th generation in the same house and same property.
My daddy taught me to enjoy the outdoors.
Mama Jackie Grant was born here too, and back in the day, this was more like a farm than a forest.
It was all farming land. We had cotton on it and watermelons on the terrace, and it had no trees on it. Greg came along and put the trees on it. We have been called tree huggers by our own family, but he's the head tree hugger. I'm just the second in command, but I like what he's doing with the trees.
What he's doing is some hands-on forestry restoration. On this small acreage, another type of pine has a new sanctuary.
Shelby County is mostly loblolly pine, and I wanted to show people what longleaf pine looked like, one of our historic species here.
What once was the most extensive forest ecosystem in North America, the native longleaf pine was almost wiped out by the logging industry. So now Greg is trying to bring it back.
I was familiar with thickets of pine forest to be harvested for pulpwood. In this case, I'm growing pines to be spaced out and to grow understory perennials and native grasses along with it.
The fire did really well.
Fellow conservationist Jeff Reed is here to check out the new forest after a recent controlled burn.
The goal here
to have the longleaf and then promote a grassy herbaceous understory for species like monarch butterfly, a lot of the other butterfly, bumblebees.
Yep, right there.
He went to the thistle. The monarch butterfly went to the thistle. See the purple head?
Woohoo! And this monarch's on a plant that everybody thinks of as a weed here and wants to spray with herbicide when it's a great pollinator plant for butterflies.
Greg's the common man. He's the small landowner that likes to do stuff to restore native habitats and then show people how you can do it.
We called Grandmother's Creek as a kid. I've been down here hundreds and hundreds of times in my life.
He's got this property in his blood, and he's got that passion of this place flowing through his veins.
It's easy to see why Greg so loves his home. It's a place of rebirth, restoration, and of course, relaxation.
This is getaway place numero uno. Of all places on the entire planet, this is it right here. I'm most proud of this place because I decided as a little boy that this is where I wanted to be. And so it's extremely satisfying to know that you chose your playground as a child and it became your playground for life.
Along a lonesome stretch of highway on the furthest fringe of Big Bend country, Bonnie McKinney and Robert Pettis are out to capture some birds.
Maybe a little early. And there's one right over there and one right there. There's tons of tracks. We've been trapping birds at Candelaria, Texas.
There's one right there.
The birds they are after are Gambel's quail, a species found across the desert Southwest.
Once you get into New Mexico and Arizona, the species becomes much more common, but in our state, it's very limited.
The goal is to reestablish these birds further east, where they were once also found. While Gambels have fared better than some, every quail species in the state has lost some ground.
There are 4 species of quail in Texas: the Montezuma quail, the Gambel's quail, the scale quail, also called a blue quail, and the bobwhite. Certainly the most popular and well-known species is the bobwhite quail.
But the iconic bobwhite is in trouble.
Over the past 20-30 years, we've seen serious declines across its entire range, including Texas. Fundamentally, conservationists agree that the root cause is changes in the quality and quantity of habitat.
Interest in restoring this vanishing native habitat has brought conservation groups and private landowners together at the Atwater's Prairie Chicken National Wildlife Refuge.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm Robert. It's really exciting to see this group of folks and private landowners just come together for a common cause. Both of these birds, as well as other grassland bird species, require this prairie habitat.
Prairie grasses provide shelter, seeds, and insects for birds, but that's not all.
Well, this is a sample of native grass. This plant contributes to the health of the land. This is the way you conserve moisture. Man's come in and ripped out a lot of this grass, this native grass, and planted what we call improved grasses, which is really not improved. They're invasive species like Bermuda grass, Bahia grass, and they don't give back to the soil. They take from the soil.
To restore native grasses where they have been lost, seed is harvested from a tall grass prairie at the Atwater's Refuge.
Well, obviously the best seed to have is to have local ecotypes, because if it grows here, it's going to grow down the road. Out here, it's a little blue stem. It's your target plant. We found out that we couldn't do it alone. To have more birds, you had to have connectivity. You had to have one ranch attached another to another. And now we're working with landowners that represent around 30,000 acres in about 10 counties.
We know from years and years of research, and it's a very well-researched bird, we know that habitat's the key.
And as habitat is improved, through native grass seeding as well as managed grazing and prescribed fire, not just bobwhite benefit.
In general, grassland birds in North America have been declining over the past 50 years or so, and it's because of loss of large-scale habitat and big landscapes. We can produce quail. We can produce habitat that makes more birds. We just need more of it.
In South Texas brush country, a different kind of quail needs some habitat help. The scaled or blue quail.
Scaled quail have declined at about 5% per year in South Texas for the last 20 years.
Researchers from Texas A&M Kingsville are on the case.
Habitat's looking pretty good here.
We've been doing a general scaled quail ecology study on 5 different ranches.
Looking much better.
And the landowners have graciously allowed us access to their properties to put radio transmitters on birds and allow our graduate students to follow them and collect the data that they need.
There is a lot to learn about this South Texas subspecies.
We don't have really any good idea of survival and general nest success, all these general ecology type questions.
A lot of this is fairly new, what we're finding with this research. Here in South Texas, they're liking the thicker brush. Watch that kick. The rate it's being lost. It's going to be really important in the future that we understand what happens when we attempt to restore the habitat to the way it was before the declines.
What is already understood is that large areas of rangeland which once held scaled quail have been transformed to monocultures.
Wow. Yep. This is buffalo grass.
Such grass might be good for cattle grazing, but for quail, it's a problem.
Quail can't walk through this.
This is a pretty extensive barrier, it appears.
So, part of the research on this ranch is temporarily turning this into this. With exotic grass removed, it will be reseeded.
We'll be planting a very diverse mix of native grasses and forbs.
Further research will measure quail response to the restored habitat.
Beautiful bird. I think they're a symbol of unspoiled native habitat.
Another beautiful bird, the Montezuma quail, once ranged across the Texas Hill Country and Trans-Pecos. In the state today, it is limited to some western mountains and only the southwest edge of the Edwards Plateau.
When we first bought property here back in 2000, one of the things I noticed was that we had Montezuma quail here. A kind of a relic population here in the hill country. Started talking to some of my neighbors about the fact that we had the birds and what we could do habitat-wise to possibly improve things for the birds.
The Hefts and their neighbors work together to improve wildlife habitat on their individual properties.
Same scenario, big ranch broke up, smaller places, people were moving cedar, doing things 100 acre, 200 acre parcel at a time, and people seeing and hearing these birds.
First Montezuma we saw in the place went right under this bush, and they just froze. And I didn't know what they were.
We've done some prescribed burning to try to help the grass cover come back, and a lot of the thick cedar areas cleared the junipers. The birds very much select for that habitat on the left that's been cleared and not for that closed canopy cedar break you see on the right. The birds, preferring areas that have good grass cover. We've had birds nesting right here around the house.
Really has done a great job with this piece of property here. This will be point number 1 that we'll sample here. What we're going to do...
Call surveys and further study by Texas Parks and Wildlife and A&M Kingsville will determine if habitat work is increasing Montezuma numbers, but anecdotal evidence looks promising.
We really like to see them because, of course, knowing you're dealing with a species that's been so reduced in range and numbers, hopefully together we can kind of help them to recover over some more of their historic habitat.
Back in the Big Bend,
there's a bunch over there too. There's a trap full.
Gambel's quail are taking the bait.
The trapping's going very well.
Biologists work quickly to collect the birds.
3. Once the birds come in the trap, you don't want to leave them there too long.
All right, 14. Not a bad start.
You're checking traps, you're taking birds out, you're resetting the trap.
You've got to be actively driving up and down the road, checking traps on the fly.
Here's one.
The team gathers the birds and collects data about each quail, fitting them with identifying leg bands.
I love these birds. You're the most talkative.
Bonnie McKinney works on the land where these birds will be restored and originally proposed this cooperative project.
I'm the wildlife coordinator at the Adams Ranch, which is actually called El Carmen Land and Conservation Company. We were really wanting to bring the Gambel quail back. Historically, they were found 10 miles up the road at the Black Gap.
Both location and extensive habitat improvement have made El Carmen an ideal reintroduction site.
Through the work that we've done landscape-wise, opening up the floodplain, preventing the erosion, putting in waters for wildlife, created some very good Gambel's quail habitat. 88 birds.
So, with a suitable home awaiting
That's a lot of birds.
and a full load on hand, it's time to hit the road.
They're kept in the transport cages overnight, and then the following morning, they're released into the new habitat at El Carmen.
As soon as they're in place and given an opening, the birds eagerly return to their former range.
Everybody flew strong. That's great. No injuries, no mortalities. So that's wonderful.
And there's more good news. After 2 seasons, the birds are raising chicks.
Knowing that we're working on a project that's helping bolster population of the Gambel's quail, it's exciting.
There is much yet to be done to improve the state of quail in Texas, but there is also hope for a brighter future.
We've seen the results. In some of these areas where we're doing this work, we're hearing them in areas where we haven't heard them.
One thing is already clear. The state of quail depends on the state of their native habitat, and improving that will depend on people working together.
Our birds have to have places to go. We're losing habitat every day. And by linking these properties up, I think we can make a big difference.
Unfortunately, quail don't have any say-so in the matter. And it's going to be up to us to take care of those who can't take care of themselves.
This project was funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife Restoration Program.
We're about a 2-hour drive from Dallas, about 13 miles from Wichita Falls.
In the spring, Lake Arrowhead State Park can be a colorful place, right down to the water.
We are on the Little Wichita River, tributary to the Red River. Iron ore in the soil tints the water to the reddish tint, and that's where the Red River gets its name. We've got quite a bit of wildlife. We're kind of a quiet getaway. When Mother Nature shines on us, people come to see us.
But even when nature isn't so shiny, there's reason to visit Lake Arrowhead.
The strong pull here is fishing. It's an excellent crappie lake.
They like to bite in these overcast days. You can dodge the raindrops. You gotta chase them sometimes. And it's not looking real good in this spot.
Get some big ones, get some little ones.
Very, very large ones in this lake.
That's a big fish.
This is one of the premier crappie lakes in Texas.
Look at that monster.
Okay. No, don't take a picture of that one.
They get bigger than that, huh? Everything looks bigger on film. That's right.
That's quick release right there.
What's everybody want to do tomorrow? David, what do you want to do?
In the camping area, the Warburton family isn't letting the rainy weather spoil their fun either.
Did you guys find any of the hiking trails when you went fishing today?
No. Yes, Papa showed us one.
We live in Duncan, Oklahoma, which is about an hour and a half from here. Dad lives in Fort Worth, and a couple times a year we just pick a spot, pretty much always a state park, and meet up.
Let's go.
It's a good way to get away from it all, you know, give people time to visit. And the puppies like it too. All right, David, you want to lead the way? It's always something different.
Right now, we are the only Texas state park with a disc golf course. You can take a regular Frisbee and play it. You count the number of throws, like strokes, on a ball.
Yeah.
We have a working oil well pump jack in the middle of our campground. And it was here before we became a state park. Out in the lake, there are oil derricks still standing out there, which makes excellent fish habitat. Now, we also have our prairie dog town. We are one of the easternmost points for the black-tailed prairie dog. And we've got a small town of them that come up and bark at you and greet you whenever you come out. A lot of folks come out just to see the prairie dogs. You can experience nature a little bit closer than you can in some areas.
Come on, guys.
Although this weekend leaves the Warburtons with one particular impression of Lake Arrowhead.
Wet.
They plan to return one brighter day down the road.
We'll be back. Really inexpensive way to have a good time with your family.
Ready to go back to camp?
Yeah.
DFW area has about 6 million people in it, so it's nice to be able to get out to an area like the Trinity so you can feel like you're out in nature and having a great time.
Taking it easy.
I've never paddled for a long extended length, and now I'm just like pumped and ready to go. Excited. All right, let's see what we do.
Here we go. Opa.
Woo! Ha-ha, yeah.
There are just a couple of spots on the river where it gains some speed.
Nice and easy breezy.
But for the most part, anybody could come out and enjoy paddling on the Trinity.
I have a little motto. If you're feeling a little down or things aren't going great, the river will make you well.
Nice. Woo!
Yeah, buddy.
Here we go. Woo! Oh man, am I wet? Woohoo!
Somebody's having fun.
I'm wearing water.
Heard a yahoo.
You'll want to have a nice, quiet experience, and the Trinity is a place you can usually find that. It's a really calm, easy paddle, flat water.
It gives you a place to go paddling without having to drive long distances. It's our hometown river. It's what we got. So we need to embrace it, enjoy it, and I love it.
This series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $50 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.